Company rushes out a new LLM model and promptly gets owned both on the model level and the architecture level. Also, backdoor found in medical devices. All this and more on this week's Cybersecurity Brief. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another week of our Cybersecurity Executive Brief. I'm Corey Wolf, Director of Offensive Security here at Risk 360. Yes, I'm in Atlanta this week. It's really nice. It's a really nice break from the Pennsylvania cold. Currently 75 and sunny. No humidity here in Atlanta. It is not yet hot Atlanta. It will be soon. But beautiful day here in Atlanta. I am at Risk 360 HQ. It's good to be here with you today. For all of you that joined our 2024 Cybersecurity Year in Review, which was Thursday, the 30th of January, thank you for attending. We will have you will be able to download that the accompanying white paper along with the recording. I'll add a link to the description if you want to check that out. But thank you to all of you that attended that. It was a great event, and really appreciate everyone coming through and having a good discussion with us. So thank you. The link to the recording and the accompanying white paper will be in the description for this video. In other news, company rushes out a revolutionary AI model and promptly gets owned. So last week I cannot talk today. Last week we quickly talked, about DeepSeek and their R1 model, which supposedly was next gen, did not need a huge amount of compute resources to run, was very cheap for them to train. We won't get into that. Supposedly they spent about $1.6 billion on the infrastructure to train this model. However, it was released. It is open source in some respects. Some questions that we've gotten about security concerns in organizations that are using this model have really been around the access that it's using to talk to its infrastructure. So if you're using the DeepSeek app, it's actually calling out to infrastructure. One of the recommendations that I made personally was if you're just downloading it and using it through Ollama, there shouldn't be any concerns there. Of course, there are going to be biases and things such as what we're seeing here, a report and some research from Cisco, and I believe it was it Penn State or UPenn? UPenn, there we go. Put out recently about some testing that they did on the model here, the DeepSeek R1, supposedly a new frontier reasoning model. 100% of prompt injection attacks were successful on this model. So here you go. Attack success rate on popular LLMs. Boom, there you go. So if you're not familiar, there's certain testing criteria that you can use through prompt injection. There's various testing tools to do this. They ran 50 prompt injection attacks on the DeepSeek R1 model, all of which worked, which means not a very good model. Besides all the biases that are built in, there also has been some discussion about the censorship and the biases built in. For example, if you ask it about Tenement Square, you can see some of the text come back, and then it basically says, I don't know, can we talk about something else? Some people thought that was part of the overall application layer. So, when the application layer got the response from the LLM, it saw that it was saying something that it shouldn't, that the creators didn't want it to say, and that it would quickly change the response. However, there has been some research done that even if you do download the model locally, it does include those censorship and those different biases. Point being here, they rushed this out. There's no real guardrails at all built into it. And this research here from Cisco and University of Pennsylvania is really good. It goes on to basically just say that everything is owned. Llama 3.1, which I talk about a lot, not very, didn't do too good either. That's probably why I like Llama 3.1, because it tells me the sketchy stuff that I want it to tell me. But yeah, so they released DeepSeek, promptly gets just wrecked. The model itself gets wrecked. And then what we end up seeing here is not only is the model just absolutely getting wrecked, but um, its infrastructure is as well. So that's never a good thing. There's a little bit more research that came out here recently from Wiz. Actually, Wiz found during their research in the DeepSeek architecture. So again, you can run a model locally through things like Ollama, LM Studio, those kinds of things. However, if you're using the DeepSeek app itself, it is calling out to DeepSeek's infrastructure. Wiz did a little bit of research here and found exposed database leaking sensitive information, including chat history. So what happened here was that there was basically an endpoint that was being used, two of them, I guess, two endpoints that were being used by the DeepSeek infrastructure that were just completely unauthenticated. Excuse me. Here you go. Within minutes, so they basically started to poke around, and within minutes, we found a publicly accessible ClickHouse database linked to DeepSeek, completely open and unauthenticated, exposing sensitive data. It was hosted at, and there you go, OAuth2 callback.deepseek port 9000, and then dev.deepseek.com port 9000. So what they were able to do is they were just able to hit these endpoints, make some database queries, and basically get everything back. So you can see here some screenshots of what they were able to identify and what they were, the type of information. So here you go. Here's an example, right, of them just running a query through this endpoint and basically dumping the entire database. So again, what do you know? A company rushes something out. It has biases. It has tons of security issues. And what do you know? Very good write-up and research from Wiz here. So as you can see, they basically, this walkthrough is basic stuff. Anyone, I'm surprised. That's the question, right? So Wiz found this. And it's pretty easy to find. So I wonder if any threat actors found it already. That's a good question. We should ask DeepSeek and see what they say. However, I think this is kind of par for the course. I'm not sure what we really expected. And also, on a personal note, I don't think it's really. I mean, it's a fine model. I mean, there's nothing wrong about it. I guess I'm not understanding what's so revolutionary. One of the claims was that it takes a lot less computational power in requirements to train and run, which has kind of been proven untrue in some sense of the word. I'll actually link to that as well. Supposedly they did spend $1.6 billion on about 50,000 NVIDIA GPUs. US federal government's wondering, hey man, what's going on with that? They shouldn't have those. They're a Chinese-based company. There are export restrictions on Chinese-based companies buying NVIDIA GPUs. So there's a whole lot going on with DeepSeek. But at the end of the day, it's an all right model. It's nothing special to me, at least not that I've seen. If you think otherwise or you have evidence to the contrary, please let me know. But it's an all right model with tons of security issues and biases, which have been proven. We'll, of course, link to those in the description here. In another note, CISA and the FDA released some reports here, and advisories rather is the word I was looking for, about some Comtech medical devices leaking sensitive data. They originally called this out as, if we look at the FDA, advisory, cybersecurity vulnerabilities with certain patient monitors from Comtech and PISMED, there we go, FDA safety communication. And so they say here, the patient monitor may be remotely controlled by an unauthorized user or not work as intended. The software on the patient monitors includes a backdoor, which may mean that the device or network to which the device has been connected may have been or could be compromised. And once the patient monitor is connected to the internet, it begins gathering patient data, including personally identifiable information. So the FDA and CISA put out an advisory about these devices. Their advisories, for all intents and purposes, and I think explicitly say, explicitly say backdoor in these devices. There's been some back and forth. Supposedly the researchers so the original researcher, I believe, and I'm so bad with name. Constant Rao. Oh, I've seen his name, I've read his name, but then you actually have to say it on camera and it's a different story. But does call out there's a pretty good technical description that he has here, which CISA and the FDA do not explicitly call out the IP address that was hard coded into the firmware of this device to gather and send patient data. Let's click next. Let's hope it's not something weird. Yeah, there you go. Oh, there it is. There's the IP. Check it out. But these devices do send out via NFS. So that's a network file share. So just straight up network file share. Oh, God. To this hard-coded IP address /PM. These medical devices were gathering data and sending them off to this hard-coded IP address. There's been some back and forth. So if we look at the Bleeping Computer write-up, you can see here an update as of yesterday. A new report from Clarity states that they purchased the contact devices and after analyzing its firmware, believe the behavior described by CISA and the FDA is actually an auto-update mechanism and not a backdoor. But if you look through the write-up, where is it here? This is that code. Where's the network traffic? Please let there be network. Here we go. So here's the actual network traffic that was viewed on the wire. And so you can see here there's clearly patient information being sent on the wire to this IP address over a random port. So port 515. I should know this. I can't remember what port NFS is, but on port 515, this device is actually sending this information that you see on the screen here to a hard-coded IP address written in the firmware. Of course, there are various ways that you can change where this device is getting its update from. However, this IP address is hard-coded, and you can see the data that it was actually sending. This is a screen cap. This is actual, not a screen cap, network traffic capture. And so, I don't know. I don't understand why you would need to send that data in order to update the firmware or the device in any way. So leave it up to you. However, there is some good research. So if we actually look at the IP address, the hard-coded IP address in the firmware of these devices, it does belong to the China Education and Research Network Center. So these devices are getting their updates supposedly from the China Education and Research Network Center. I'm done. I don't believe it. I do believe this is more than just a simple update mechanism. And some things that you could look out for is to just search some of your traffic logs. If you do have some of these devices, again, it is the Comtech CMS 8000, and then I believe it's an Inapismed device, which they're made by the same manufacturer, they're just branded differently. So as you can see here, Costin does a good, makes a good suggestion of at least searching internet traffic logs for the IP 202.114.4.119. Yes. So that's it for this week. Appreciate you joining us. As I mentioned, I'll drop a link here into the recording of the 2024 Cybersecurity Year in Review. If you weren't able to make it last week, there's also a really good paper coming out, a white paper that we put together about 2024, what kind of trends we can look forward to in 2025, and some recommended investments, what we think are a good idea to invest your time in. And I'm not going to just say penetration testing. I mean, you should. But yeah, look out for that. We'll put a link in the description, along with a link to some of the stuff that we talked about today. And yeah, so appreciate you taking the time. I hope you have a great rest of your week, an excellent weekend. And guess what? I will see you here next Wednesday. Speak soon.